Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, honor, glory, and worship unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rucha Kodash. Double honors unto the elders and the apostles that do well, overseeing the tabernacle of David. Greetings and salutations to you, Achim, upon the testimony of our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai, in both truth and in sincerity. This is Psalms, the second chapter, and the first verse. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The raging of the heathen is in their thoughts, in their plans, such as Belt Road Initiative, Agenda 2030, Charagma. These are things that it's miscalculations, yet it's still drawn out. So what it is an equation that they put up on the board and the square root and the dividends but when it comes time to write the equal sign and tell the exact numerical value, it doesn't add up. And that is their ideology, that they will be successful after the return of Yahweh Shai, which is a great miscalculation. That's a vain thing they imagine. Vain, the term vain goes into empty and void, because they're going to be wiped to powder in Jehoshaphat. Verse 2, the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together. This is what the Belt Road Initiative, Agenda 2030, things of that nature. All right. And there's many other, these guys, their craft is formed by deceit. And that craft is going into their legislation. That's also going into the, when you go to the book of Revelations, it speaks about, well, the term charagma. All right, you have the term, you have the term, the image of the beast, which the image of the beast is the system of Rome, NATO, EU, essentially. And so what you see taking place in the NATO, EU infrastructure is a reincarnation of what Rome was, what Rome stood for, which is degenerate, satanic behavior, immoral behavior, pagan behavior. That's what Rome was. Everybody knows it. But what people don't know is America is Rome, and essentially the deadly wound was healed. We can go to it in Revelations. I believe that's the 13th chapter. Let's go ahead and grab it. Let's go to Revelations, I believe that's the 13th chapter. I could be mistaken. It says, Revelations 13:3. It says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. Which one of the head that was wounded to death was Rome. All right. It says, as a matter of fact, I'll read verse 2. Matter of fact, I just started verse 1, just for context sake. It says, the beast from the sea is the subheading. And that beast from the sea is NATO EU, which came out from nations, which the sea represents nations. It represents multitudes of nations. That's what the term sea represents. All right, verse 1, it says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, which the 7 heads is those 7, essentially you consider them as different eras of rulership of Roman influence. Or otherwise you could consider it as the 7 Roman provinces. Now these 7 different provinces had different rulership in different time periods. All right. Now, but in ancient Rome, they were all provinces of ancient Rome. You had Germania Major, Germania Minor. You had the Rome. You had Helen, which is Greece. You had Shalakia. You had Britannia. You had Hispania, which is Spain, and Britannia is Great Britain. And then you had the Gauls, which were the French. All right, and then those 10 horns, those were city-states of the ancient empires and the medieval periods. But the point being that now they're considered NATO EU. You got the EU, the European Union. That's what they are. All right. They originally started off as the EEC. Okay. It says it says, and upon his horns, which horns represent strength, 10 crowns, which 10 rulership, different. You just had the Queen of Denmark abdicate the throne to her son, which is now the king. So these are 12. These are different. These different provinces, all right, have different rulers. You know, some of them have presidents, but even some of them that have presidents or prime ministers, they actually have kings. And people say these kings are. They'll say that these kings are symbolic or they don't have any power. That's a damn lie. They do got power. Like the Queen of Britain and that royal family, they got power over Britain. They rule Britain. They let it's a facade. That prime minister shit, they don't have the power. Them prime ministers don't got no goddamn power. They are put there by their kings that rule over there, and then by the bankers, which the bankers have the real power. And then, but you got these people, they all are part of the same family. They rich. They all rich as hell. They all are like bankers. They're cousins. But some of them are primarily in the banker sector. But they're all cousins and related. They're Edomites. It says, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. Right. Let's get that term blasphemy in the Greek, which is blasphemia, which is slander. What do? They slander us. They say that we are preaching hate. When we're not preaching hate, we preaching love. God hates you. That's what happened. You go to Malachi. Let's go. You want to go read the book of Malachi? You guys talking about we're a hate group. God hates you because you poison the earth and you drop bombs on Japan, and because you orchestrated the transatlantic slave trade, and because you spray glyphosate on food and pesticides that's poisoning people and pushing this stuff that's having everybody have cancer. That's why God hates you. Don't fucking come to us with that shit like you some goddamn victim. You are the devil the Bible speaks of. God hates you for these things. God hates you for deforestation. God hates you for spraying chemtrails on the fucking earth, you asshole. God hates you for pushing the JAB out. God hates you for these things. God hates you for trying to exterminate the North American Indians. When you killed 95 or 98% of the North American Indians, because you did that, God hates you. But what do these idiots do? They slander us. They speak blasphemy. Oh, the Hebrew Israelites, they're terrorists. This is what they say. Those rat bastards are terrorists, they damn self. The so-called white man is a terrorist. What the hell are they doing in Gaza? Is that not terrorism? That's terrorism. You got your Erdogan, he's an Edomite. He told you that Netanyahu's a terrorist. Erdogan himself, which is a part of NATO, he's a part of NATO, and he's saying that Netanyahu and the small hats are terrorists. He said that himself, and that's his cousin. So we the bad guys. We're wrong with what we're saying. But Erdogan could fucking go and tell fucking hundreds of millions of Turks all around the world, and all the fucking everybody's listening to him when he says they fucking terrorists. But now when we've been saying that, oh my gosh, what are you guys talking about? You guys are black hate group. You guys are black, and just keep calling us black. We keep telling you we're not black, but you keep calling us black. That's slanderous. You're trying to speak injurious against us, trying to defame our name. When we're Yasharallah, we're Israel. You guys are not the Jews. You took our identity. You converted in 740 AD. And then President Bashar al-Assad just said that. But we've been saying this since the 70s and 80s, our elders. But these assholes, now the fucking president of Syria is saying it, but when we say it, we don't know what the fuck we talking about. We don't know what the fuck we talking about, but the fucking president of Syria just fucking said it. You fucking assholes. And like now it's breaking news now because Bashar al-Assad said it. But we've been saying it since the 70s and 80s. But we were just stupid niggas, right? That's what you see. That's again miscalculation. It says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, which I was talking about the Greeks. It says, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, which talking about the Russians, because the Russians is going to be the end of the rulership of Esau, because the Russians are going to destroy America with missiles. And so Russia will be the last to stand, but then the Hawashah is going to take out Russia. All right. It says, in his mouth as the mouth of a lion, which that's Great Britain. It says, and the dragon gave him his power, which is Rome. Now, Russia is not a part of NATO and EU, and it's not a part of the ancient Roman Empire, but Russia is Edomites. That's why they said the bear. Russia is symbolic of a bear. It says, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and his great authority, which the dragon was talking about, the ancient Roman Empire. They use that system, that influence, that's their governing, that's their ideology. Their system is based upon Rome. All right, it's based upon Rome. Even like the Russian Tsar. Putin is really a Tsar. He's not a president. That's a Russian Tsar. And what is a Tsar? A Tsar is Russian for Caesar. I mean, to be honest, look at Putin. He looks like Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar. He looks like him. Now, we don't know. Or maybe some of us do. Might want to keep it on the wraps. We'll let the apostle talk about it. But point being, all right, the point being, which I believe I heard the apostle say that before. I've seen brothers talk about this before. It's not anything new. I'm just pulling out my left pocket. Julius had to come back, and he had to be a great one when he did. But the point being, that's who this is talking about. All right. Verse 3, it says, now, where else can you find Putin in Russia? The bear. Well, Gog and Magog. That's Magog of Ezekiel, was that the 38th chapter, if I'm not mistaken? The chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Meshech going into Moscow. All right. Then you had the kings of then Golmor, which is talking about Erdogan and his host, which that's all the Turk nations, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, well not well, Tajiks are Turks or not, Uzbekistan. I think Tajiks are Turks. You Tajiks, you can correct me if I'm, if I'm wrong. But what are these guys? Azerbaijan, Muslim Brotherhood, which they not all Turks, but they run by the Turks. They run by Erdogan, for he the head of Turkey. All these guys are going to fight on behalf of Turkey, or behalf of Erdogan, or whoever's sitting in his seat. It looks like it's going to be Erdogan, though. He got the fire to do it. He's been sitting in that seat for like 20 years now, just like Putin. They look like they're going to be the guys to take it to Jehoshaphat. Wow, and I see a hawk right above me. Wow, that's a spirit. They might just be, that's a humongous hawk, goodness sake. Wow, that is a very large hawk. It's like looking at me now. Wow. But yeah, it's just little spiritual signs that we peep through the spirit. It says, verse 3, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, which that was wrong, but it was healed, all right, through the Renaissance. And all the world wondered after the beast. It was healed through the Renaissance, and then ultimately it was manifested through NATO and EU. All right, which NATO and EU was alive because of the Renaissance. The Renaissance is when these people came back into the power seat. But NATO and EU has been the seat of their power because during the Renaissance, they weren't unified the way they are now. They've never been unified since they came back into power. Like France and Britain, they always were at odds throughout the Renaissance and all the way up into World War I and II. In Germany, they just came in unification after World War II. That's when NATO and EU came. That's when the beast coming back together. It says, and all the world wondered after the beast, right? They were amazed at the power structure, the ideology, the capabilities of this beast system, this empire, which is NATO EU, the revival of the Roman Empire. That's what takes place now. Right now, people, they kind of don't like NATO and EU anymore, but it was a time when they looked at NATO and EU as God. Like after World War II in the 60s, 70s, like before they started bombing Arabia and stuff, they looked at this place as God. Verse 4, it says, and they worshiped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. Which the dragon is going into the system, the dragon that gave power to the beast that they're worshiping is the system of Rome. Wow, there goes the eagle. But that's another one. But it's the system of Rome. All right, because the system of Rome is what when it says worship, it's meaning you follow the ordinances of. Like people, wow, that's beautiful. But people, like for instance, they, how do I say? Now that's an eagle, that's a hawk, and that's an eagle. Goodness, the Lord showing me some beautiful birds today. But people, Shalakia, just the majesty of when you see them fly is breathtaking. It says, wonder after the beast. It says, and they worshiped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. Right? Now, the worshiping of the dragon all right, came with following the ordinances in the system that was established via the Roman Empire. All right, the republic, as they say, because America is not a democracy; it's a republic. No, none of these countries are democracies. Nobody votes they people in. These are republics. But America is a quote-unquote republic, but in actuality, it's also an empire. It's an empire, it's just not a dynastic empire. Like Rome wasn't a dynastic empire. Rome started off as a republic, just like America started off as a republic, but now America's not a republic anymore. Now America's, on paper it is, but in actuality, like America has like rulership over different provinces of the earth. Now, this is not the 12 colonies. That was the republic back then. Now this is an empire, just like Rome became an empire. You know? But they worship, meaning they follow the ways of Rome. That's how they get their power. That's how they get their, that's the order that they use to govern people, to mind control people, because it's witchcraft. The way Romans rule and these other nations is witchcraft. That's how they control people. They don't control people through truth. They control people through lies and deceit and gimmicks and rhetoric. Like what do politicians do? We're gonna do this for you, we're gonna do that. They lie and deceive, you know? But in the kingdom of heaven, we're gonna control people through the teaching of peace. That's what Jerusalem, the term Jerusalem, Yerushalayim or Yerushalayim, it means teaching of peace. So we're going to teach people peace, and that's how we're going to control people, meaning we're going to show them the right way to live. The American way and the Roman way don't show people the right way to live. They don't care about people. They don't care about the Lord's laws, statutes, and commandments. That's the way the earth is set up to be lived on, but the so-called white man is bugged out, and he's the devil. Wow, look at that hog. He's bugged out, and he's the devil. And so he's the Mr. I can't get right type of guy, man. And because he's the devil, when you go into that term devil is in the Greek, diabolos, all right, which means deceiver. All right, so he's a deceiver. He doesn't teach the right way. He'll tell you that the earth is 100 billion years old. When we like, no, the fuck it's not. What are you talking about? Where did you get these again, miscalculation? Like just pulling shit out his ass. When the earth is not that old, then he'll tell you that we came from monkeys and came from whatever the fuck he fucking teaching these schools now. And now he'll teach you that a man is not a man and a woman is not a woman. Like, this guy is bugged out. He's bugged the hell out. Talking about you got more than two sexes. This is what this man teaches, and his science. His scientists, his religious institutions. You just had the Pope talking about that you can have same-sex marriage. Like, this guy's the devil. Why can't you guys see that the so-called white man is the devil? You so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians. You can't see that that's not okay. You should be able to see that. You should be able to see that. The fact that you can't is disappointing, to say the least. You don't have spiritual discernment. That's what they're showing you. Anyway, let me go to verse 4. It says, and they worshiped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, and who is able to make war with him? Right? Because nobody could make war with NATO and EU. Ask Gaddafi. Nobody could make war with Saddam Hussein with NATO and EU as Saddam. You know? You know, as Russia. Well, when I say, don't ask Russia, ask the Soviet Union. Ask the Soviet Union, because you ask Russia gonna tell you we got some missiles to hit them with. That's according to the Bible, and they're gonna do it. But you can ask the Soviet Union, could they make war with the beast? And look, because it's a financial. Remember, the EU is an economic system, so it's financial, economic, and military. That's what makes it so great. They control all the banks. The Francophone countries. France controls 14 different countries in Africa banking system. It's like, how do you make war with this? And that's just France. We're not mentioning Great Britain, the Bank of England, the Bank of London. Are you serious? We're not even mentioning that. So, things we need to consider. Verse 5, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months, which that 42 months is speaking of that 3.5 day period, or you could say 350-year period. That's what the 42 months, because if you do a little division, you'll be able to come up with it yourself. But when you come up to that period, before, of course, it's 12 months in a year, and I'll let you do the rest. But the 42 months is 42, which is going into 3.5. And that's speaking of the 350-year period in which this beast, of course, starting from the Renaissance period. That's why it says the power was given unto him for 42 months, because it's going into a 350-year period where this beast really was prominent. All right, and of course, so it's going to start from 1619 when the White Lion, all right. The White Lion actually came to the coast of America, all right, which inside of the White Lion was were Judites, Israelites from the tribe of Judah, and the symbolic animal for the tribe of Judah is the lion. And then you also have the Israelites who came to Jamestown, where the term James means Jacob, so it was saying Jacob Town. And we came in 1619. and so from 1619 to 1969 is where that 42-month period was. And in 1969, a great one came. The herald of God, Elijah the prophet, reincarnate, Elder Abba Bivens. And he came and he made a way for us in the wilderness. And he established the School of One West. And taught our elders, High Priest Ariyah, King Masha, High Priest Jaikwab, and they have taught our elders, the apostles, starting from Apostle Tahar on down. And that's how we have this knowledge. That's why we're standing upon our feet, as Revelation, the 11th chapter, spoke about. And then it said, great fear fell upon them which saw them. And that's why these people are scared of us. Let's go back to Psalms, the 2nd chapter, and wrap it up. It says, the kings of the earth, in verse 2, the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed, which who are his anointed, his Mashiach, his Mashiach, which is his anointed, are the elect of the nation of Israel, starting from Yahushua on down. Yahushua and amongst the other elect of the nation of Israel. All right. It says, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. That's why they broke us up as a nation, and they broke our lands up, and they came together in one consent. They said, okay, these Israelites here, let's break up their empire. But you had empires in Southeast Asia of Israelites during the medieval period. Remember the Lord said we ruled 1,000 years. Well, when I say we ruled 1,000 years, that's going into, I'm talking about the Dark Age period. I'm not talking about the period when when the scripture said when we ruled with Yahushua 1,000 years. I'm talking about in the Dark Age period for 1,000 years. That was when the beast had that wound. That's when Esau was down. That's when Rome fell. The 12 Caesars. But in that period, you had Israelite empires throughout the earth, not just in Europe. Israel was ruling in Asia. Israel was ruling in the Eurasian steppe. I talked about it on one of my last lessons. The first Khaganate were Israelites, who you consider as Turks, the fathers of the Turks, the Guk Turks. Those were Israelites. They came up from Harbor River and up through Medea, from the Caspian. Over the Caspian, and they came over into that land because they was pushed out. They was exiled. By the Assyrians. The Assyrians and the Babylonians pushed northern and southern kingdom over there. And remember, some of them southern kingdom didn't go back to Jerusalem. They stayed over there, and they migrated in other places with the northern kingdom, because at that time we still knew we were Israelites together. Like northern and southern kingdom Israelites was like, okay, we the same people. That was the same nation over there. In that time period, the kingdom had divided though for a couple hundred years, but we still considered each other brethren. But the kingdom divided after the death of Solomon. After Solomon. But the Lord's bringing us back. But point being, these kingdoms and empires they had, these heathens have broken up, especially when the British came over there, and wherever the British came and the French, they broke up the Israelite empires on purpose. They chose to break up the Israelite empires over the other nations because they knew they needed to take down the Israelites to have power. The nation's stupid because the nations went for it because they wanted to have more power, but the nations didn't understand that they was making a deal with the devil. And the nations are going to pay for this. Just as your fathers did during the time of Noah. It says, verse 4, he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. You're going to be confounded. Verse 5, then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion, who is his king? Yahushua. And then King David. All right. It says, I will declare the decree. Yahweh have said unto me, thou art my son. So this is how we know it's talking about Yahushua. Because King David is also the king of Israel, but this specifically is speaking of Yahushua because it says what? And this, by the way, this is King David speaking, by the way. It's actually King David speaking. But watch this. Look what it says. It says, I will declare the decree. Yahweh hath said unto me, thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. So what are the Muslims talking about? The Lord don't have a son. You shut up. You niggas illiterate. You ain't read nothing about no prophets. You don't know nothing. You just listen to what your imam said. You guys are not learned. You're not diligent like the Church of Berea. You don't even know who the Church of Berea is. So yes, he does have sons. All the Israelites are sons of God. It's starting with the elect of the nation of Israel. So you don't know anything. You need to go read the prophets. Go read Moses. You don't know nothing about Moses. You heard about Moses. You haven't read the books of Moses. I adjure you, please, you Muslims, please start reading the prophets instead of just going off of what some imam told you that he was told to tell you by a British Jesuit or some Edomite fucking spy from whatever century that you learned your bullshit from. I suggest for you to actually read the books instead of just talking about them. It says, verse 8, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thy inheritance. Right? The Lord's going to give the heathen to us for an inheritance. They're going to be in slavery under us, man. All this pain, all this agony, all this suffering, not for naught, you know, the Lord has us. It says, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Right, we are going to have the sun is not going to sit on the Hebraic Reich. The sun is not going to sit on the Hebrew Empire. No, literally. See, British, they said, when the British said that, it was kind of figuratively. It was almost, but it was more so figuratively. See, in the Hebrew Israelite Empire, the sun is not going to set on that bad boy. Literally. From one end of the rim of the earth to the other will be dominion and jurisdiction of Yahushua and the elect of the nation of Israel. Verse 9, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Goodness sake. And so when we read these things, we know that if God be for us, who can be against us? And this is, see, what you heathens don't understand is our trust and hope is in divine intervention against you. We don't believe that we can physically come up against you, just like we couldn't physically come up against Pharaoh. But Ramses II, he was smothered in the bottom of the Red Sea. And it's time for you to have it's time for you to step into the spotlight and become an example for the generations to come. And let the record of Ramses rest, and let now your name be known throughout the annals of time for what happens when you fight against God. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, honor, glory, and worship to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rukakwadash. Once again, double honors unto the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and greetings and salutations to you, Akim. Salutations to you, Akim. Shalom, and keep the faith.